to work a little bit harder financially to keep it, I'll take it. I'll do the work. But if you're going to come up with some kind of scheme to get my property from me, I'm sorry. No way, no how, no chance. There is a line that shall not be crossed. And we have to start living with power. We can't act like, I'm not going to have a house because somebody might take it away. I'm not going to do this because somebody, this is not really ownership because I have to pay a tax on it. You know what? We live in a society with certain laws and rules. Some of them we're behind. Some of them we'd like to change. But we have what we have for now. We have to look at what we have today, grab it by the throat, choke the crap out of it, and make it the best that we can. And before we worry about somebody taking it away from me, I'll tell you this, come try to take it. And we have to live with that attitude. It's amazing what happens when we start living with that attitude. Let's go ahead and take the next question. I'm going to take this question from Alex, who is my best buddy, I guess. Alex, go ahead, and if you don't have a mic, I'll take you in the chat room. Alex says, is it worth putting away ammo to use when the crap hits the fan, like boxes and boxes? I have lots of guns. I hunt and fish a lot. First of all, it's great to have lots of guns, but a gun is a club without ammunition, so you definitely want to make sure that you're storing ammunition. I'm really big on storing a good amount of ammunition for all of my weapons and having a whole lot more components, reloading equipment, and the knowledge of how to reload, because it's a much more sustainable system that way. If I ever got into a really long drawn-out situation where I even ran out of ammo, there's all kinds of things that we can do to manufacture ammo. As long as I have powder, primers, and cases, I can even manufacture bullets. There's even ways, if you have to, long-term, to manufacture primers. I won't get into that because you can blow your fingers off if you do it wrong. There's ways to manufacture gunpowder. And brass cases last a very long time. One of the things that I see with a lot of people that own a lot of guns, and I'll tell you folks, I'm guilty of this myself because I like to tinker. You have like guns in like 15 different calibers. The problem with that is now you got to store 15 different calibers worth of ammunition. But the solution to that is to have a few that you depend on and store the bulk of your ammunition for those weapons, and then store sufficient, maybe a couple hundred rounds for everything else. So is it worth storing ammo? Absolutely. If one is to store, I'll take this one right off the thing. If one is to hoard ammo, what are the top types of bullets to buy? Here's the thing. There's what's called a common caliber myth. And that is that if I have 9mm, 45 ACP, 308, 223, or 5.56 NATO, 7.62 NATO, those rounds, and 7.62 by 39, the AK round, those are going to be great rounds to have because they never run out, and they'll always be there, and they'll always be available. Anybody remember the ammo shortage about a year and a half ago? You know what disappeared? 223, 308, right? 12-gauge shotgun shells. And you know what I could get all I wanted of? 243s, 357 Magnums, 30-30 Winchester. There was so much available that wasn't the common caliber, which means if you want to hoard it, hoard the common caliber stuff. That's what everybody owns. When if you want to, I saw people paying $50 a box for hardball 45 APC on like forums and stuff like that during the shortage. And the other thing that I saw was primers going through the roof. Store components, folks. Let's go ahead and take the next question. We won't stay on guns too long because I'll get all excited and really enjoy it. So let's take a question from Mr. Silver Wizard, who has his hands up. Again, you can do it by mic or you can drop it into the chat. Okay, easy one there, Mr. Silverwood. 5 to 10% is a minimum, and going up from there as much as you feel comfortable with. And I get nervous when you go more than 20 to 25% because of a liquidity issue, a time frame issue. And but if you wanted to go higher than that, I'm okay. 100% no way, no how, no chance. If you tried to spend a silver bar at your local grocery store, especially during a time when the electricity's out from a national disaster or a natural disaster of some kind, and they're not taking credit cards, you know what you need then? You need cash. There's a transitional period in any type of a disaster where we go from a point where cash is king very, very briefly, and when stuff runs out, barter is king, right? And then we go to a point again where maybe cash will help us out a little bit, and if it doesn't recover after that, that's when gold and silver pick up. Because has anybody here ever eaten a gold bar? It's tough, right? It's tough, and it doesn't really work out very well. It's not good for you. It's actually toxic if you eat enough of it. So what we really need to understand with investments on gold and silver again is, if you want to do half of your wealth there, I'm even okay with it. It's not as high as I'm going to go. I'm in the neighborhood personally of about 15%. I recommend 5 to 10% for most people. I just had an email come in from a listener who got some advice from a person or got a piece of advice that was being given to very, very wealthy individuals, people with net worths of $50 million or more. And the number that was being recommended to them was 7 to 12%. So it looks like I'm pretty close on that. But if you want more, I see all kinds of people with different numbers. Go for it, man. Do whatever you want. But just remember, don't put all your eggs in one basket, even a golden basket. Let's go ahead and take the next question. Fast Eddie looks like he has another question.
Hey, hello, Jack. Fellow Pennsylvanian with a love for Yingling like you. Got a question. I'm upside down on my mortgage primarily because of a failed business transaction from years ago. Very well prepped. Got plenty of food on hand, but I'm thinking about walking away from my mortgage to maybe rent for a while to save up some money. My mortgage is probably twice of what I could rent the same location from, and just want to know what your thoughts were. Thanks.
If you have to make that decision and it's very tough, then you do it. But what you do when you make that decision is you do it with as much honor as you can, because regardless of what got you into that situation, at some point you sat down, you signed a piece of paper, and you put your name to something that said, I will repay this debt. So what you do is you contact your bank and you say, hey, man, this is going to happen, and you walk on a given date and you stop paying them. What I don't want to see people do, and what really bothers me, and I think we need to restore honor to our country, and that starts with us as individuals, is don't sit in there for 90 to 120 days pocketing the mortgage, living off the bank, and then skipping out and tearing the house apart on your way out, ripping out all the appliances and everything like that, and trashing the place. If you have to do it and it's financially the best decision for you, do it. Do it with your honor intact, and talk to the bank first. They might tell you to go pound sand, but make the offer because you'll sleep better at night. This property isn't worth this much anymore. You know it and I know it. I'd like the opportunity to short sell the property. You're going to take a loss, but you can take part of the loss or you can take all the loss. If we can come to an agreeable amount on a short sale, I'll make a commitment to you. I'll stay in the house and I'll keep paying for it until the house sells at that short sale amount. If they say no, and they probably will, then you can walk away and say, hey, I tried. I made the best effort that I could, because when you agreed to the contract, that's what you agreed to, is your best effort. But your best effort is not trashing the house because you're angry. I'm not saying you're going to do that, man. I know you're probably not. I'm just saying that I've seen it happen so many times, and I've seen an attitude come off in America where this is just the right thing to do, and people are now looking at it like returning a pair of jeans to Walmart. Understand, when you bought the house, you didn't buy it from the bank. You bought it from the seller. The seller got the money. The bank put up the it's really fake consideration. I understand the money scheme. I explained it earlier. But just try to do it with some honor. And if it makes sense for you, man, do it. Do what you need to do for your life. Understand it'll destroy your credit, but I'm not really worried about your credit rating anyway. That's just how you get yourself into debt. But it's going to be damn hard to buy a piece of property again without saving up a lot of money. You got to weigh the long term here for yourself, and you've got to look at, do you think that this place is ever going to turn around and come back and be, you know, are you going to be able to get out from under it? If it's going to sink you for 20 years and you've ended up in a situation where there's nothing you can do about it, it might be time to walk. I hate doing it. I hate not paying a debt that you owe, but there's times when there's nothing else you can do. Let's go ahead and take the next question. That's going to come from at Yukon Cornelius 1.
I couldn't resist doing that. Hey, my question is, we talk about this a lot in the room. The difference between owning silver coins, silver bullion, silver rounds. I mean, do you have any preference there? You may have answered that question before. You may have answered that question before already, but because you were saying you feel like having cash is actually a good thing, you know, especially until a major crisis would arise. But do you have a preference there? Do you think it's safe to hold American coins with silver in them? Is the government ever going to try to confiscate those? What are your thoughts on that?
Great question, and let me start by saying that as far as the silver that I own 10-ounce bars, I own American Eagles, I own generic rounds, I own rounds from the American Open Currency Standard because I believe in what Rob Gray's trying to do with that, and I want to support him with that. I even take silver in just about any form for my Members Support Brigade, which is the one thing I sell directly on my website. I also own quite a bit of pre-64 silver coins. So my answer to what I prefer, if I'm going to be honest, instead of trying to sound like I'm really, really smart and advise you based on tax considerations and all, if I'm going to be honest, I have to answer based on what I've done. So my answer is all of them. As far as the government confiscating it and taking it away the way they did with grabbing the gold in the 30s, I don't know if you caught the early part of the show, but my grandmother used to have a pretty sizable jar of gold $20 pieces that she used to refer to as the ones the sons of bitches didn't get. That's kind of how I feel about it to a degree. I'm not real concerned with the government coming to try to take away pre-64 silver coins. There's such a collector's market that's so established. It's not that maybe some type of seizure could never happen. I will tell you this. I am no longer fond of keeping silver or gold in large quantities in safe deposit boxes in banks. And it's because I learned from, I can't remember the gentleman's name. He's a bald guy. You guys that are into silver and gold have probably seen this guy on YouTube. Pretty switched on guy. And he told me, he has a video that he put out talking about a little-known clause in the Patriot Act that says, I'm not going to tell you where I keep my gold, dude, that says that basically the government can seize assets in a crisis and has access to anything that's considered a financial relationship. And part of that law redefined a safe deposit box with a bank as a financial relationship. It's a long shot, but it's a risk I'm not willing to take. I believe your gold and silver should be stored in a good solid safe or firebox. I don't believe you should put it all in one location in your home, and when somebody asks you where you keep it, you should tell them it's none of their damn business. That's what I'm going to tell you guys that are asking me where I keep my wealth. It's not advertised, and it's not all in one place, and it would be a very costly situation to try to remove it from my person. So I keep it where it's accessible. I think there's a big niche right now for someone to come up with what would amount to a private bank for the little guy, where people would basically have a very secure environment to keep things that they find valuable, whether it be gold, silver, or old baseball cards, that is outside of the banking system. What about Brinks? You guys can tell me about Brinks if they offer something like that. I'm not sure. Lakota Bank is a bank. You keep silver in it. It is a financial relationship. I'm not saying that they're not a good place to have an account. I'm actually thinking about opening a silver account there. Again, it's another way to promote or to kind of help out Rob Gray with the American Open Currency Standard. I really believe in what that guy's doing there. But it's still a financial relationship, so it comes with the same risks of any financial relationship, including regulations. Yeah, bury it with GPS coordinates. Make sure that, one thing I do want to say with any type of thing that you cash away, whether it's gold, silver, ammo, food, I don't care what it is, anything valuable you cash away, make sure that somebody other than you knows where it is. Because if you die, you'd want it to be passed